Okay, so the purpose of this little test setup that I created here was to check how Arduino can take in an input such as a voltage and use it to process some kind of output. And the reason for this is because in the Arduino valve controller, what we would like to have is when the pulse sequence fires, the voltage on the gate drops below 5 volts to 16 millivolts, which is essentially 0. So high in computing language is anything between 3 and 5 volts. Low is anything between 0 and 2 volts. So in this case, what I did is I have this potentiometer here, which is a fancy name for a resistor that changes its resistance based on the position you have the this little knob on. And so you have, it can range from 0 to 10,000 ohms, and depending on the position of this knob, you'll get some value in between within that range. And so the setup that I currently have is adapted from the Arduino, they call it the read analog voltage. And so what happens is when you adjust this potentiometer, Arduino is always sending a 5 volt signal across this resistor that varies. And the current remains the same. So the only thing that can change when the resistance changes is voltage. And so this center pin here connects to A0, the analog in pin. And when the analog in pin is, so the analog in pin is constantly reading many times per second the voltage that it is receiving from the center pin on the potentiometer. And within Arduino, it will show that voltage as this thing's running. So if we go onto the computer and open up the serial monitor here, what we see is it's currently reading at 5 volts. So 5 volts is the maximum voltage that Arduino can send as a potential difference across the potentiometer, which means that it's currently in the 0 position, so the knob is as far counterclockwise as it can be. So what you'll notice is as we rotate the knob clockwise, the voltage changes because there's now more resistance. So we go back to 5, and as you can see, this is happening at least 20 times a second. So the purpose is to have this, so our ultimate goal from this little setup was to have it set so that when the gate voltage from the NMR spectrometer in our project falls below 3 volts, or 3 volts, it would open up a valve on our valve controller. And so what I did to mimic that is I just have a little LED wired up here, and it's connected to pin 8, irrelevant but unless you're looking at the code. And so what you'll see is that as we adjust the potentiometer, which decreases the voltage, at a certain point the LED comes on. So this is what we want. So when the pulse sequence fires, the voltage drops, which is mimicked in this example by the resistance increasing, and the LED comes on. So it's exactly what we want. And then once the pulse sequence is off, on the NMR spectrometer, the voltage goes back up to 5 volts, and the LED in this case, but the valve in our project will open. So pulse sequence fires, the voltage goes up, the valve opens to let the gas in, and then it closes once the pulse sequence finishes. So this is a little setup, but the code looks good and it is working. And so yeah, it's good. Thanks for watching.